Hi guys, today we're going to talk about some data frame operations. Previously we looked at how to create data frames and then how to select elements out of a data frame. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create an empty data frame first of all. Empty data frame. I'm going to use the data.frame command. We're not going to pass any values in it so far. That's an empty data frame. You can see there's no observations and no variables. Then we're going to fill an empty vector, so we're going to use vector sequence, and we're going to fill it from 1 to 10 values. Vector sequence. And we're going to do a vector of characters, chars. We use the letters command here, and we're going to do again 1 to 10. And now we're going to create a data frame based off the back of that. We're going to call it. I'm going to use the data frame command, and what we're going to do this time is we're going to assign column values. So let's say number title equals column vector sequence, which is the variable that I saved. Then we're going to go vector of characters equals, and then we're going to actually pass the vector of chars. So that should look. I have not run any of this yet. So when I open that data frame in a minute, or view it in the console window, you should see, because I passed the number title equals the vector sequence, it's automatically labelled the column headers for me. Now, based on this simple data frame, I'm going to start performing some functions. The data frame. To actually bring back the number of rows, we use the nrow command, and we're just going to pass in the data frame into the parameter. So there's 10, we know there's 10. You can also use the ncol, same thing. Give you the number of columns. We know we've got 2 columns there. And you can also, without setting the row names, you can just pass the data frame value, and it gives you the row names that are, named at current. Next, we're going to look at actually adding rows to an existing data frame, which is going to be the data frame df that we've just labelled. So adding rows to existing data frame. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use the rbind function, or the rowbind function. So with the rbind function, I'm going to first of all create another item as a data frame. So I'm going to just say new row or something like that, and data.frame. I'm going to say the first value is about what we've got so far, 1 to 10. So let's say 25 is the first value, and then we're going to give it a text string. I think we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G at the moment. It's up to J, so what we're going to do, I'm going to just type my name to see what happens. So that should create another data frame in memory. It's just one observation of 2 variables. So now if I want to then append it onto my existing data frame, I'll do this. Use the rbind function to append to existing data frame. Okay, so from that I'm now going to say call it a new D, because our convention so far is to call it DF, we'll call it new DF this time. And here it's as simple as using the R bind. As you can see, it's in the R base. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the existing data frame with the new row, and then I'm going to add that. Okay, just a second. Sorry guys, that's why I fell down previously. As before, we specified title variables, so new number, title and characters. I've got to repeat that convention with my new values. So when I run these lines now, so I'll go down to that line, that then is created the new data frame. We're going to print out that new data frame. So it's there, as you can see, data frame. And now, as you can see, I've appended row 11 with 25 and the value of Gary. I'm going to now repeat this exercise, adding a new column. So here I think I'm just going to simply use the dollar notation to create the new column. So with the new data frame that we've created, I'm not going to use the old one. I'm going to then, after the end, number, title and characters, but if you want to add a new column, you just specify a new column name. So this one's going to be called column 3, something like that. And then what I'm going to do is just assign the values here to this is my new column, something like that. Okay, so I run that, and then I print out new data frame again. As you can see, that's added column 3 after the dollar sign, and it's specified all the text is this as a new column. Another way we can then copy that would be to use this convention. So I'm going to use new df. I'm going to use the index notation. Obviously, because I'm looking at columns, I'm going to put little parentheses, because if you can remember, rows, columns. I'm going to call this column 4. I'm just going to get rid of the space there, blank space. And then what I'm going to do is with my new df, I'm going to just copy the characters column. Run that. So I then run new df again, just to print out the result. So now I've created a copy of that column, essentially, called it column 4, and now I've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So basically I referenced it from the original data frame. Then I've used a placeholder to say, actually, I want everything in this column 4 to be a copy of the existing data frame field, characters, and then it makes a copy and appends it. I can then use, from my numerical field, I could add some kind of equation to that numerical field. So I'm going to go my new data frame, which is the one that we created up here, and when we change it from the data frame, we're going to use new data frame, and I'm going to use, I'm explicitly not going to use a comma here. I'm going to just refer to the column number title. So number title. And then at the end, as we said, I'm going to set the new df. I'm going to call it equation column. And then I'm going to put times 2. Oops, new df not found. Hold on a second. Right, df. Let's see if that works. No, hold on. I've got this the wrong way round. this should be what I want to call my new column, so equation column. And this should be an existing item in the data frame, obviously, because I'm performing a sum on it. So we're going to use new df, and then we're going to use the number field. I'm going to make everything to the power of 2, so raise it by 2, so the number times by itself, so 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, etc. Now when I run new df again, it's got all those raised to their associated powers. To rename these columns, I'm going to use the col names command. I'm going to pass my new data frame, and then at the end of this I'm going to specify just an index. So let's rename column 3. So column 3 will be in column 3, and then we'll just call it my new column. So run that. Then if I run new data frame again, just keep testing that it's working, you'll see my new column. We could do that with column 4, or we could do it as part of a vector and rename multiple columns. So I could say col names, I'll pass new data frame, and I'm going to then use a combine function. Remember we created those with vectors. So I'm going to say my first column is called numbers, my second column is called alphabet, something like that. You can break it onto the next line. Then the next column is going to be called test column again, and then the fourth one is going to be called copy of alphabet, sorry. And then the fifth one is numbers to the power of 2. Let's see what that does. So if I run that whole block of code there, you can see it's run successfully. I've got no warnings like previously. I was very good at actually telling you when you've screwed up. I do it a lot. Print new data frame. And that should have then changed all those column names to numbers, alphabet, test column, copy of alphabet, exactly as I've just specified. Acting as a refresher from earlier, we're going to use selecting multiple columns. We're going to use our data frame, so we're going to say, instead of using the head command with head of new df, what we're going to do is we're going to create our own function that will do exactly the same thing. So we're going to call it the top 10, and then we're just going to pass new df, and all we're going to use is the slice notation 1 to 10. First 10 rows at the start to the left. Top 10, I'll print top 10. That'll then give you exactly the same as there. Actually it should be the top 6, shouldn't it, if it's the same as head. Okay, let's call it top 6. Okay, I'll run those lines again. Yeah, so now it's top 6. It's exactly the same as the head function. You can also do selecting. You could just omit rows. So let's say omit row 9. Row 9. So if I wanted to do that, I could just say everything but row 9, or 9 not included. 9 not included. Right. I'm going to set that again as a placeholder. I'm going to use my new data frame. I'm going to pass index notation. Say minus the 9th row, sorry. Row to the left, column to the right. Should know that by now. Still get it mixed up from time to time. 9 not included. So you can see now 9's been missed out of my data. And if I looked on there, I wouldn't be able to see 9 in my actual data frame view either. Okay. We've previously covered looking at subset functions and conditional selection and stuff like that. So I'll skip over that for now. But what I'll also do is we're going to create a new column in our new data frame, and we call it null vals. And we're going to set all of those to NA. So, yep. So that should work. So when I run new df, that'll work. I'll set all my columns to NA. So they're all null values. So there's a couple of commands that you can use for finding missing data. You can use if you want to check if there's any missing values in all of the data frame, any missing values in all of the data frame, you can use the command any nested is dot na, and then you pass your data frame to this, and it will give you a Boolean result. So there is true, because we know that whole column's got loads of NA values. So if I wanted to test a specific column, I can go any, same notation, is NA, new data frame. This time I'm going to use the dollar symbol to select my columns. This time I'm going to use numbers, and this should return false because they're all populated. False, yeah, because we know that the numbers field has got values in it. Just expand that. Yeah, makes sense. That's NA. That isn't. That's got values in. There's also a method whereby you can delete anything, any rows with missing data. So it's like factoring out missing values. Not always the best approach, but I can show you how. So I'm going to go new df, and I'm going to say df without missing, so I take a copy of my old data frame, and then I'm going to say new df, which is the new data frame that we copied from the original data frame. I'm going to use index notation. I'm going to say not, whereby they're not, so this not is NA. And then I'm going to use new df. I'm going to use the null values column. See what that does. So now let me print that again. So essentially that brings back nothing now, because what it's saying is it's saying if there is no, so not equal, actually it says not, if there are not any NA values in the data frame, then it's a reverse logic, delete those, just show me the records that aren't NA. So because all our records had an NA in this column, everything was deleted. But sometimes you might have NA there, NA there. Let's say that these two are the only columns with values in, and the rest have got NAs. What this command would have done is just given you the first two, because they would have had values in the null vals section. So it's basically just turning it on its head. It's saying, and if I just said that, it'd look for all the is NAs, delete all those, but actually it's doing the opposite. What I could also do, I'm going to create a new data frame again from the new df data frame. You can replace them with something else, so NAs replaced, we'll call it. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to pass in index notation, sorry, I'm going to say is.na, and I'm going to just pass my new df there. And what I'm going to do outside of these, I'm going to set everything where it is null to 0. No, sorry, I can't name it that. I need to, because obviously what I'm doing, I'm being silly. I'm trying to index a new data frame that's not been yet created. So what I actually need to do is new df, pass the index to the existing data frame that I've already got. So what I could do then at the front of this is create a placeholder for all that logic. So we'll run that first and see what that does. So when I view my new df now, there should be no NA values in that column. They should all be zeros. Yeah. But now that's implicitly changed my new df, so I'm not going to be able to use the isNA function now because it will just return false because there's nothing that's null essentially. But yeah, you can also replace values for a selected column if there is NA, so you could say something like new df and then use the dollar notation numbers, and then I could use the index notation is NA, new df numbers again, because it's saying use my df column. If it's is NA, that column, then set it to a weird value like 1000. That won't actually do anything because there isn't any null values in that column, but if there were, there'd be 1000. So essentially it's looking at the numbers column. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So that's how you can deal with missing data. Okay guys, catch my lectures, subscribe, let me know your comments. I hope these tutorials are helping you. If you need any access to any of the code or anything, I'm very shortly going to upload this to all my blog posts. But in the meantime, please leave me a comment. Alright guys, thanks very much, subscribe, catch you on the flip side.